Sid and Friends in the morning. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sid Rosenberg, there he is. Sid, do you want to come up here, Sid? Mark, should I let Sid come up, Mark? I think so. Come on, Sid. So Sid's got the #1 radio show in New York. Got the #1 radio show in New York, like by far.
Giovanni Galante. And he's the man that started this petition. I'm on board 100% to keep the mayor away from the 9/11 commemoration memorial service coming up this year, 25 years. First of all, how do people get to you to see the petition? And is there a number of people you think you need on that petition to make sure this man is not there?
I don't know if there's a number. Even if we had 1 million over, so I think he had 1 million votes to be mayor.
Yeah.
I think if we oversee that 1 million, maybe that'll work, but I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
Like you said before I was listening to your show, he's going to show up. He doesn't have, we just ask for decency, respect, and just stay away.
Doesn't care. He doesn't care.
We're asking respectfully. We're not, we're not demonizing. We're stating facts. We're trying to move on. This is private to us. This is the day that we have private to us. I understand sometimes other politicians come, but they don't have those beliefs. We're not after politicians. We're not after people in general or Muslims or Jewish people. We're after people that don't have our values.
That's right.
That think that we deserve to get our loved ones murdered on a day that they're just going to work.
Before pews packed with lawmakers and foreign leaders,
He was a force of nature, and I will miss him greatly.
President Trump honoring the late Senator Lindsey Graham.
He was a man who gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart until that heart itself just gave out.
And joking about Graham's penchant for pushing to use American power around the globe.
He never saw a war that he didn't like. Only his true friends would understand that, but he wanted it for the good of our country. He felt in his bones that our destiny is to win.
Among those true friends, Ukraine's President Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Graham strongly supported them.
President Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House in a high-stakes meeting that was closed to reporters.
The two men discussed the ongoing war with Iran and efforts to thwart its nuclear capabilities. Political reporter Marsha Kramer joins us now with more on this meeting. Marsha.
Well, Alan and Jess, it was the first time the president and the prime minister met face-to-face since the war began 5 months ago. While Netanyahu, Israelis described the meeting as excellent, it got off to a rocky start after the president publicly scolded Netanyahu for airing intel about Iran building yet another secret underground nuclear facility.
Well, I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved.
President Trump calling into Fox News hours before his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, complaining about Netanyahu's decision to talk publicly about Israeli intelligence that Iran is building another secret nuclear facility at Pickaxe Mountain.
We have the greatest cameras in the world focused on. We know exactly what's going on. But no, I heard Bibi announce that. I said, why didn't you just tell it to me? Why do you have to announce it to the world? I know exactly what's going on at Pickaxe.
Netanyahu came to the United States to attend the funeral of Senator Lindsey Graham, met with the president in a meeting that was closed to the media. Pictures released by the Israelis on social media show the two men smiling. In one post, Netanyahu and the president both appeared to be reading note cards. At Graham's funeral, Netanyahu chatted with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and others. After the White House meeting, Netanyahu issued a statement calling the meeting with Trump excellent. When I say excellent, it's not just lip service, Netanyahu said. It was a conversation of full partnership, of mutual support, with an understanding of the shared goal to ensure that Iran will not have nuclear weapons and other goals. There was an opportunity to exchange ideas and also to coordinate on the important issue of security and the future of the State of Israel. The president also met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who also came here for Senator Graham's funeral. Afterwards, the White House press secretary said on social media, both meetings were positive and productive. Now, both Netanyahu and Trump had a lot riding on the meeting. Netanyahu is up for re-election in the fall and wants to show he has good relations with Washington. Trump is facing the pressure of midterm elections and an unpopular war that has raised gas prices and consumer goods. And I should also point out that despite the mayor's best efforts, he was not arrested.
So now Putin is losing 30,000 his soldiers per month. This is big, too much losses, like President Trump says. It's many losses, but he doesn't want to stop this war. So now initiative not in the hands of Putin.
Let's bring in Greg Sullivan, our Russia economy and government editor. Greg, good morning. A very positive interpretation by President Zelensky. What was your reading of these discussions?
That's right. Both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the White House seem to strike a positive note coming out of those discussions. In reality, it's potentially a bit more of a mixed picture for Zelensky and Ukraine. On the one hand, Zelensky does seem to have warmer relations with Trump. You'll remember that last year there was that infamous blow up in the White House. Relations between the two leaders were a bit more fraught. That seems to be behind them now, with Trump even praising Zelensky and Ukraine's battlefield performance earlier this month. So that's a positive for Zelensky as he seeks to keep that relationship on his side. But Zelensky did go to the U.S. seeking air defense for Ukraine as it faces these Russian onslaughts and airstrikes. It's unclear whether he actually secured more air defenses in the interim. We do know that they discussed the domestic manufacturing of the Patriot missiles that Trump said he would allow Ukraine to do under license. That's going to take a while to get up and running, and Ukraine does have a shortage of these interceptors in the meanwhile. So he needed to secure those. It's unclear if he did or what comes next or how those next steps will play out.
Overall, where do we stand on the war? Is there any hope for ending the conflict?
Well, that's also a pretty fraught picture. We did hear from the Ukrainian leader last week that he met with U.S. envoys or that he discussed with U.S. envoys restarting diplomatic efforts. But right now, there's really no sign that U.S. brokered talks will resume. They've been stalled since February as Washington has been distracted by or focused on the war in Iran. Right now, there doesn't seem to be momentum to return to the negotiating table. And from the Russian side, quite frankly, Putin has stuck to maximalist demands. He's still demanding territory that he doesn't control militarily, and he hasn't really shown a willingness to negotiate an end to the war or back away from those. So it's hard to see where a negotiation actually goes from here, but the first step would obviously be returning to the table, and right now there just doesn't appear to be much momentum towards that.
Dr. Anthony Fauci is set to testify before the Senate after Senator Rand Paul released more than 1,000 pages of Fauci's private pandemic-era journal entries, or his diary. Paul says those entries contradict some of Fauci's public statements, including these comments about the origin of COVID-19.
They said it was something like 24 cases in this wet market.
This was jumping from an animal to a human in the context of the wet market.
The origin was from the Wuhan wet market.
So that's what he said in public. But in a January 2020 journal entry, Fauci wrote, quote, "Now we know the market was not the source, it was the amplifier." Having said that, somewhere the virus jumped from animals to human.
Let's bring in a Senate Homeland Security Committee member and Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, when you looked at the 1,100 pages of his diary, and no one's been more aggressive, bar none, in an outrage during the pandemic, and more aggressive in the investigation than you, and you were shelved when you guys went into the minority. When you looked at the 1,100 pages, what stood out to you that really got on, what really angered you?
Morning, guys. Well, first of all, I just have to say my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Fox Valley area of Wisconsin who got devastated by a EF3 tornado yesterday. Right. Nashville particularly hit. Wish I could be there with you. I'll be there this weekend, and we'll tour that and make sure you can recover. But again, my heart goes out to those folks. Listen, we just got the diary. We got a lot of information from 8 of his 11 or 12 devices. And again, I really thank Bobby Kennedy for his commitment to radical transparency. We got 11 million pages earlier. What stands out to you is how grossly dishonest Fauci was. I mean, he was saying publicly, writing to his little diary, I guess he kept for his, his book at some point in time. Totally contradicts it. So again, I'm not learning very much new. I mean, I always knew he was a megalomaniac. I knew he was lying repeatedly. Now we're just getting more and more documentation of it. So I'm looking forward to being able to ask him questions.
Let me tell you something. Sid told you the truth. We didn't know each other at all, and he was supporting my opponent. And I said to him, listen, why are you supporting my opponent? He said, well, she's a very nice woman. I said, I know. I like her too. But her policies are on the wrong side. And I chipped away, and finally I got his endorsement. And quite frankly, that's the reason I got over the top the first time. Is because of Sid Rosenberg giving me a forum. This guy is one of the great patriots in America, and he tells it like it is. He doesn't mince his words. There's no filter. We all know that. So let's hear it again for the great Sid Rosenberg.
I'll be honest, Lou Ruffino picks about 99% of it. Most mornings I do pick the first song. I ask Lou what he thinks. If he agrees, we play it. If not, he picks something else. But we went with that one because, well, I was in the limelight yesterday, all over Long Island and Queens, campaigning with the great Bruce Blakeman. And it turns out that one of the most popular members of that great band, Rush, is celebrating a birthday today. And I believe at one point, Lou Ruffino actually smoked some dope with this guy.
Yeah, eh?
Is that true?
No, that's not true.
So it was only the guy from the band, that was it?
Well, some other members in the band, too, with Levon. I mean, it wasn't just me and him.
No, I know, but just the band, is that it? You never smoked dope with Geddy Lee?
No, unfortunately, I never met Geddy Lee.
Oh, you never did?
No,
so Noam gave me some wrong information again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Noam.
No problem.
How old is Geddy Lee today? Do we even know?
73.
Oh, come on. Isn't anybody in their 50s anymore? I guess not.
Well,
because I'm almost 60, and Louis in his 60s, and Noam is almost 60. So it only makes sense that all these rock and roll heroes are in their 70s and 80s.
You know when Rush started, actually? Their first record?
I'm going to take a guess.
Okay.
1983.
Oh, not even close.
1971.
You're getting closer.
It wasn't the 60s.
69.
Oh, my God. Really?
Is their first album, yes.
They've been around for 57 years?
Oh, they've been a long, of course.
Jeez. I didn't realize that.
And possibly outside of Taylor Swift's Swifties, the craziest fans you might meet.
Are they the Rushies?
Rabbit. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They should be called the Rushies. But they are insane.
But they're not they're not more loyal than like the Grateful Dead folks.
I don't know, but there's certain bands that have a following. That...
Well, let me tell you, it's got one of the biggest followings. You ready for this? And Rush, I guess, is right there. Fish.
Oh,
with a PH.
Of course.
Those retards are out there doing mollies 5 days before.
They don't care what it sounds
I know.
like.
They were at the Garden last night, actually.
No way.
Yeah. Funny that you should
That's
mention
so
that.
ironic. Is that really true?
Yeah.
I had no idea that was the case. I just know that, they go upstate, they hit the road, and their fans are a lot like the Grateful Dead fans,
No, the
all drugged out and
Grateful
stupid.
Dead fans are looking for something like that.
But their music is not good, is it?
Well, they're great musicians.
I know, but you like their songs?
You can, like everything else, you can listen to it for a little while, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Then
But
you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I'm not a big fan.
I would not trudge 3 days in mud just
No,
to go see
me either.
any band.
No, well, I shouldn't say. Well, I would for certain bands.
All right, let me think.
You too, I would.
Oh, you too, forget it. You would.
I would do anything.
You would crawl over broken glass.
Oh, my God, of course. I'd have sex with Noam. Again. What?
What? Huh?
Yeah. I would count, I think, 4 times, 5 times?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I don't know. He's very sexy. Came in a couple of days ago wearing a short sleeve shirt. And I had no idea Noam's arms.
Oh, he's huge.
He's huge. He looks like Hulk Hogan.
You had your hands all over me. So I was
Wow,
like,
you look very sexy. I'm not going to lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not me, but that's
you're
because you're not bald and tan. Like Mike Gallagher said, you got to see this guy. Mike Gallagher, number 9. No, you look great. You really do look great. Thanks. And you're in great shape. All right, so Rush has a lot of crazy fans.
Yes.
All right.
No. I think I've said, when they're not even touring, these fans all get together and have meetings and have little gatherings.
No, they don't.
Yes, I've watched
Oh, my
I've watched
God.
a documentary.
Where are
on it.
they
They'll
from,
get-
that band? Do you know?
They're Geddy Lee was born Toronto.
Toronto.
Mainly that area.
So they're Canadians.
They're Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, those bastards. That's why we had to tariff them, because they give us that polluted air every year. Every year. Is that ever going to stop? No? What do you people tell you?
no. I mean, those fires are burning right now.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I don't smell them today.
No, because the trade, I don't understand this all, but the trade winds have to go a certain direction, so we're not getting it right now. But those fires are still blazing.
Unbelievable. I do want to get to the specifics of my day with Bruce Blakeman yesterday. What a great day. I went to speak to all of his interns at his headquarters in Nassau County. I had no idea. It's not just, there's like 5 different groups of interns, like 100 kids. This auditorium was packed yesterday. And all of Bruce's big guys are there, Judge Adams and, all his Chris Boyle, all his big people. When I arrived, they were sitting in Bruce's office. And this, I'm going to use this word. He has a palatial office, his office in Nassau County. It is huge and gorgeous. And they were having like this board meeting. There's about 10 of them. So I sat down and I took over as if I was running for governor. That's what I do. And then eventually Bruce and the folks ushered me to this other room with like 100 kids sitting right there in the first row, my beautiful son, Gabriel. And I spoke for about 15 or 20 minutes. Then me and Gabe left with Bruce and my man, Tom Sullivan. Now, I saw 2 different Tom Sullivans yesterday. Isn't that funny? 2 different guys. I'll get to the second one momentarily. This Tom Sullivan, cop, works for Bruce Blakeman, drives me around. Look at that. Elizabeth Forspan is on New York One. We'll get to her. She was on my show yesterday, our show. So anyway, Sullivan drives me and Gabriel over to Blakeman's other headquarters in Franklin Square. You walk in there, they got signs, Bruce Blakeman, Mike LaPetri, Anthony Ferretti, Driscoll. I think Joe Cairo has an office in that one. And then eventually, after Bruce and I both did guest appearances on Trudy's podcast, we then got back in the car, Bruce, myself, Gaby, and Bruce's detail guys, and we went to Harbor Lights, which is a great pub in my neighborhood, 6 blocks from my house, also very close to Lou's house, where they raised a whole bunch of money for Bruce, and I spoke, and Bruce spoke, and Joe Cairo spoke, and the other Tom Sullivan spoke. So I want to get to all those specifics, but there's a lot of news today, and I guess we're going to start with what I opened the open with, and that was Giovanni Galante. He was on yesterday. It was a heartbreaking conversation. I really compel all of you to go to WABCRadio.com. If you missed the conversation between me and Galante yesterday, you're going to be sorry you did. Giovanni's wife, Grace, will forever be 29 years old. Why? Because she was murdered inside the South Tower back on 9/11/2001. So he's a gentleman that started this petition to keep the mayor, you know how I feel about the mayor, hate his guts, he's a terrorist, to keep the mayor away from that sacred soil, Ground Zero, on 9/11. Nobody wants him there. I got to tell you, folks, I know it's anecdotal, but I'm all over New York all the time. I really am. I get stopped in the street every couple of minutes. I really find it surreal. The love for me in this city it's unbelievable. Long Island, all of it. And everybody starts me to tell me, Sid, I'm with you 1,000%. Keep the mayor away from that sacred soil. And I'm doing the best I can. I play 9/11 clips every day, going back to 3 weeks ago. Nobody talks about that day nearly as much as I do in this city. Nobody. And I really want that mother effer to not be there. So when you go back and listen to Galante, he makes the plea. He says, listen, I'm not demonizing the mayor like Sid does. Just out of respect for my wife and these other families. The mayor is friendly with Hassan Piker. They're best friends. Piker said America deserved 9/11. The mayor took selfies in the streets with a cleric who was involved in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The mayor went out of his way to endorse in these primaries last month people like Chevalier, that skank, who also said America deserved 9/11. And the mayor never apologizes for any of this. We don't want him here. We don't want him. So I believe when Giovanni hit the air with me yesterday, they had about 16,000 signatures. And a few hours later, after coming on this blockbuster program, I think it's up to close to 30,000 now. Did you see those numbers, Noam?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Did you see the numbers? Or?
I have to check and see what they are this morning, but I saw that they kept ticking up.
Yeah, they picked up big time. Maybe 25, but I think it was closer to 30. It sounded like Trump. It was the biggest thing ever. But Giovanni did a great job yesterday, and we are gaining monster support every day. Every decent New Yorker. You don't have to have a family member. None of my family died that day, but I have plenty of friends that did. You don't have to know anybody that died that day. If you're an American, a piece of you died that day. A piece of every American died that day. Whether you had a relative there, a friend there, knew nobody, a piece of all of us died that day. To be attacked like that on our own soil. You know, it's one thing when an army base gets hit in Iraq and Iran, that's bad. Anytime our people die, that's bad. But in New York City, at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., plane crashing in Pennsylvania, where I'm going Friday, come on. We all died a bit that day, all of us. So this petition should have 1 million signatures. Forget about 16,000, 30,000. If you're a decent New Yorker and not one of these low-life DSA members or one of you low-life Democrats, you should be up in arms about the mayor being there and find a way to sign this petition. I don't want to see 30,000, 50,000. This thing needs to be at the very least in the hundreds of thousands. Don't you agree, Noam?
Of course.
So let's get it done. All right, go to, I guess you can find it at Giovanni Galante's Facebook page. I don't have the link up. Do you have the link up anywhere on WABC?
I'll find it, and
Let's
make
put
sure
it
we
up.
put it up. Yeah.
Put it up on our website. I think John Katzmatidis is probably on board with me. I know Chad is, as a former Navy guy. So let's help this cause and do what we can. He's going to be there because it's up to him. But he keeps saying, the mayor, that he's for every New Yorker. Well, if that's true, and he's not the selfish bastard that I know he is, then he won't go. Because the overwhelming majority, see, a lot of these families don't talk. And I'm going to tell you why. Honest conversation. They're afraid of the pushback. They're afraid of the political pushback. They hate the mayor. They all hate the mayor. All of them. But they're afraid if they say something, there's going to be some political pushback and they're going to get screwed. So a lot of these family members say nothing. But trust me when I tell you, they all agree with me. All of them. They listen to me. They agree with me. They're with Giovanni. They don't want this terrorist anywhere near that sacred soil. Am I asking too much? No?
Not at all. And by the way, it's up to 40,000 right now.
40,000?
Yeah.
Okay, even that's not good enough. It's
No.
great. It went from 16 to 40 because of me. Basically because of me, because I don't think Galante did a bunch of media yesterday. So we more than doubled it. That's pretty impressive. Keep going. Keep going. Make it virtually impossible for this lowlife to show up on that day. Yesterday, they buried our good friend Senator Lindsey Graham in D.C. Give me the latest on all that, Noam, and President Trump meeting with Bibi Netanyahu. I did speak to Bibi's people in Israel already today. I'll get to that. And also meeting with Zelensky. That whole big day in D.C. yesterday, what did it look like?
Well, it was a long day. It started with the Bibi Netanyahu and the president meeting. Zelensky was in the Oval Office as well. And then afterwards, they went to the funeral, at least the first part of it, which was in Washington, D.C. And the president, giving a long speech, he called him right when he passed away, when Lindsey passed away. He said this guy was like a family friend. And you could see the emotion in the president as he delivered the eulogy. And then you had Sean Hannity also delivered a eulogy.
Sean actually spoke right after the president. I spoke to Sean on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what Sean had to say I thought was great as well. I don't know if you saw any of it. But, so now he's, Lindsey Graham's body has been moved to South Carolina, of course, his home state, 10:45 this morning. There will be a public funeral for Lindsey Graham. First come, whoever gets there first will get the seating in this church right near his hometown, and they'll honor him there. And, that'll be part of the long goodbye to the senator.
That is beautiful. So the Bibi part I heard went very, very well. In fact, David Menser, who works with Bibi in the office in Israel sent me this, and this comes from our new best friend, Dr. Ophir Falk, who happens to be Bibi's senior policy advisor. He was on this show 4 days before Bibi, and to be honest, Dr. Falk was a major reason why Bibi ended up on this show about 2 weeks ago. And Ophir said this. He was with Bibi in this meeting with President Trump. He's with Bibi everywhere in the Oval Office. And Ophir said this, quote, "It was an extremely positive meeting. The Prime Minister and President held an excellent and comprehensive discussion on the key issues of the day. First and foremost, Iran. The leaders reaffirmed their ironclad commitment to ensuring that Iran never has nuclear weapons." And I can tell you that on top of that, there was a little bit of tension, which you heard in the open. Marsha Kramer was right about that, even though I'm losing a lot of faith in her. But she was right. There was a little bit of tension because Bibi had all this information on this site. It's called Pickaxe Mountain in Iran, where supposedly they are building another nuclear spot. And he went to President Trump in America to tell him about it. And you know how Trump is. He's like, oh, listen, you don't got to tell me. I know about it already, okay? Remember, we're one, you're two. Let's make this very, very clear, Bibi. I'm number one, you're number two. Two's good. Two's very good, right? Two's great. But I'm number one. You can hear in Trump's voice that he was aggravated that Bibi made it available to the press, that Bibi and Israel made America aware of that intelligence. Trump denied it. But outside of that, it seemed like, no, they had a pretty good day.
Yeah, you had the White House said positive and productive talks. That's how they described it yesterday.
We'll take it. And then you've got Zelensky there. And look, Zelensky and Trump and Vance, all those guys get along a lot better than they did a year ago. There's no question that President Trump goes out of his way now to actually compliment Zelensky and the hard-fighting Ukrainians. They are amazing people. They really are. They have no right being competitive in this war, let alone doing the damage they've done to Putin and Russia. Really an amazing country, an amazing group of people. But on the question of, is this thing going to end anytime soon, nobody seemed to think the answer was yes. That's what I took from yesterday.
Yeah, well, look, you can make that argument for both of these wars. I mean,
right.
The Russia-Ukraine one, what are we at, 4 years now? I think it's 4 years. Is that right?
5 years.
Is it 5
No, maybe
years?
It is 4 years. You're right.
And then yesterday, in the Middle East, Tehran was firing missiles again. They'd fired missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan. The Jordanian army say they shot down 5 projectiles at dawn this morning. And Tehran last night saying that they would reject any proposal that would split the transit routes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's part of this negotiation process. They want full control of inbound ships into that corridor, which, of course, is not going to sit well with the White House. So it doesn't seem like we're any closer to ending that war either.
And then there was more action with Iran yesterday. It turns out that us and Saudi Arabia went after Iranian interests. I believe in Iraq. Isn't that right?
20 Iraqi fighters were killed, 32 others wounded. It was about a bunch of strikes. I don't know how many, 30, 40 strikes across 7 provinces in there. And I don't completely understand exactly what that's all about, but that was a cooperation between the U.S. and the Saudis.
All right. So here in the United States, the big story today is Anthony Fauci. And Fauci turns out to be one of the most dishonest, infamous, and really an enemy of the people because he knew from day one exactly what was going on. He talked a lot about the COVID virus jumping from an animal to a human being, and then it became very, very clear that he knew about the Wuhan lab, that he knows that COVID virus was created in a lab. And Ron Johnson, our friend, will be on tomorrow, the senator from Wisconsin. He's got 11 million pages. 11 million pages that basically shows that Fauci has lied time and time again. And then a guy that I don't like him even a little, but I'll give him credit, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. He added another, 11,000. That may be the wrong number, I don't know. But more pages, because Rand Paul was able to get Anthony Fauci's actual personal diary, where Anthony Fauci is obviously much more honest with himself than he is the American people. and makes it very clear that this virus, which killed a lot of people all over the world, was originated in a lab in China, which he knew from day one, not from an animal jumping to a human being. And then also how we shifted the focus very quickly from why this virus was created, where it was created, and the damage it did, to figuring out some type of vaccine to make it better. And we know, of course, all the damage the vaccines did. So Anthony Fauci, on a serious note, is like public enemy number one. And I expect Ron Johnson and a bunch of our politicians on the Hill today to kick his ass. What about you, Noam?
Yeah, it'll be a smackdown, but then, of course, nothing will happen to him. So it'll be interesting to watch this. And no doubt this diary has been, I don't know if you've seen any of the entries into this diary, but a lot of it is him talking about himself, the situation he writes with my national and international fame is explosive. That's what he wrote in May of 2020.
He talked about two politicians specifically, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and our douchebag mayor, who I ripped to shreds yesterday, and I also ripped Fox News to shreds for putting him on, Bill de Blasio. Those are the two politicians. He goes, I'm so big right now. Gavin Newsom, Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio would have been the worst mayor in the history of mankind, if not for the moron that's in office right now. Bill de Blasio. That's who Anthony Fauci was bragging about in his diary.
Yeah, and while he should have been managing this pandemic, he's writing in his diary that I'm the most famous and talked about person in the country, maybe the most recognizable person in the world. That's what he writes in the diary. And then he talks about all these A-list Hollywood stars that are trying to get in touch with him. He talks to Julia Roberts, Barbara Streisand, Sean Penn. At one point, he does a Zoom call with 30 celebrities that was organized by one of the Kardashians.
Oh, my God.
And people who are on this Zoom call, again, this is April of 2020 he does this. He organized, Kim Kardashian organizes a private Zoom call with Fauci, 36 celebrities, including Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, my God.
And this is what he's doing while we're all locked in our houses.
You can't make this up, can you?
No.
You really can't make this up. Where's the Ron Johnson piece here? Let me give you this. This is Ron Johnson, and he talks about the extent of Fauci's lies. Again, Ron will grill Fauci today. Ron, this was from Fox News yesterday, but my friend Ron will join us on this show live tomorrow. Lewis, Ron Johnson, cut number 9.
It's interesting. You said he was a megalomaniac. He loved being in the spotlight, and he writes a lot about that. But, Senator, a lot of the stuff we wound up doing, we figured, okay, the federal government's telling us to do this because there's science behind it. It sounds like there wasn't a lot of science behind a lot of the crap we went through.
Yeah, no, Steve, there was, because Fauci was the science, remember? Again, what a narcissist. So, no, let's face it. Anthony Fauci was funding gain-of-function research before the moratorium. The moratorium ended up being a joke because it allowed them to circumvent and continue to fund gain-of-function. He lied about that to Congress. He knew about Ralph Baric. He knew about Peter Daszak. He knew about the labs in China. Mm-hmm. So he was fully aware of this. I think all of his lies were basically a massive cover-up of his involvement in the creation of the coronavirus to create a pandemic. Then, once that pandemic began, he focused everything on a vaccine. Not a vaccine, it's really an experimental gene therapy. Okay? Sabotaged early treatment, whether it's hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, these cheap generic drugs. Instead, push remdesivir, which, by the way, nurses call it run, death is near. It knocks out your kidney. So just about everything he did leading up to the creation of the coronavirus, his funding of the research that I think resulted in it, the devastating impact in the shutdowns, masking. You ever see a little child wear a mask and yet they had to wear those masks, set back their learning? I mean, the devastation of our response, our miserably failed response, largely falls on the shoulders of Anthony Fauci and the lies he told and his hubris.
I did speak this week to Janice Dean a couple of times, and, we're, her and I are still great friends, and she's not at Fox News anymore. She's trying to figure out what she's going to do next. She hasn't felt all that great physically lately, but she's a terrific young lady, and, of course, she lost not one, but both of her in-laws, both of her husband's parents died during COVID because they were in nursing homes. And the governor at the time, Andrew Cuomo, allowed sick patients to come back to places where there were healthy patients. We know what happened next, okay? So I did speak to Janice a couple of times this week on Twitter and via text, and she's doing okay. Just wanted to put that out there. One other story we covered yesterday that I just mentioned, she was on New York One about, 10 minutes ago. We had this attorney on this show, Elizabeth Forspan. She works with the Brandeis Association. She's got a big law firm here in the city. She came on yesterday, recommended by our dear friend Arthur Aidala, talking about how this committee, this Judiciary Committee in New York, 19 members, not one Jewish member. They had a guy, a judge who everybody loves, bipartisan love. His name is Judge Leventhal. They wanted to make him the chief, I guess. And the mayor, and this has never been done before, as far as Arthur knows, as far as Elizabeth knows, as far as I know, the mayor never, ever, ever vetoes the picks from these attorneys and judges. And the mayor vetoed Leventhal. And the only reason anybody can think of is because Judge Leventhal is Jewish. That's it. So Elizabeth Forspan was on this show yesterday. She did the rounds after me locally, New York One and other shows. But it all started right here, Louis. Let's go back to yesterday with Elizabeth Forspan, cut number 12. Elizabeth Forspan.
I mean, we have this committee, the Mayor's Advisory Committee on the Judiciary, right? We know mayors appoint judges to criminal court, family court. I mean, the mayor of New York, it's a powerful position. And every mayor since Mayor Koch has had this committee that recommends and evaluates judges for the criminal courts and the family courts, which we have vacancies on. And, the mayors always listen to the chief judge. They listen to other judges. They take their recommendations. And here we have the committee. It's got 18 members plus the chair. Not a single Jew.
Wow.
Not a single Jew.
Not a single Jew, no. Another blatant case of anti-Semitism from the mayor that claims he's not because he's a filthy liar.
Well, what's interesting about this is when they said they went to search for the people who would be on this committee, that they went through a wide swath of New Yorkers to represent everyday New Yorkers. But, of course, then they left Jews out. Now, I will point out the John Leventhal case, they say, well...
Is it John?
Isn't it John?
Okay, maybe it is. Okay.
So they say that the reason he was, or they're not officially saying this, but the reason he wasn't chosen is that he was on the legal defense team for Ghislaine Maxwell, who is connected to Jeffrey Epstein.
Right,
so,
and obviously Arthur Aidala represents Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
That's why Arthur is so close to this story, and Arthur is the one who put me on the phone with Forspan a couple of days ago. We had a three-way conversation before I bought Forspan on this radio show. So that's the connection, right? Maxwell between Aidala and Leventhal. But you can't do that. You can't decide because you don't like a certain... That's the way it goes in this country. Everybody gets a defense, even the worst people. You can't decide because you don't like this specific defendant. You're going to stop this guy from getting something at the end of the day he deserves. You can't do that.
But he can.
Yeah, he can because he's Jewish. It's not about Ghislaine Maxwell. It's because he's Jewish.
Well, I will say a City Hall spokesman yesterday did not contest the fact that there was no Jews. He said, there's no Jews on this committee.
Yeah, we got the names, 19 names. All right, before we start getting to this amazing guest list today, anything I missed that happened yesterday? I think we covered a lot in the first 47 minutes. What else we got?
Those are, I think you got most of the big stories of the day. We're having flooding, but that happens every time it rains. It's been really bad the last couple of days.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Jersey has been having a terrible summer. I don't know how they did last night or this morning, but...
It was bad. In fact, it got so bad yesterday in, I think it was Hawthorne, the town of Hawthorne, New Jersey. No, I'm sorry. It was Woodland Park, which used to be part of Patterson. They had to... one little nursery school got surrounded by water, and they had to bring rescue crews in to save the entire staff and all the kids out of the school because the flood waters were so high. In Patterson, at least 20 people got stuck in their cars last night trying, I guess, to get through these flood waters. And we saw trees fall just about everywhere yesterday. So, for sure this morning, you're going to see a lot of mud-covered streets, trees and stuff like that falling over.
Duty. There's going to be duty.
Yes, there may be a little duty mixed in
No,
there as well.
duty.
Yeah.
Oh, no. There'll be duty everywhere. Duty.
Just say duty.
Duty, just say it. Oh, we got a huge guest list today. Thank you, Noam. You're amazing as always.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let me tell you something. Sid told you the truth. We didn't know each other at all. And he was supporting my opponent. And I said to him, listen, why are you supporting my opponent? He said, well, she's a very nice woman. I said, I know. I like her too. But her policies are on the wrong side. And I chipped away, and finally I got his endorsement. And quite frankly, that's the reason I got over the top the first time. Because of Sid Rosenberg giving me a forum. This guy is one of the great patriots in America, and he tells it like it is. He doesn't mince his words. There's no filter. We all know that. So let's hear it again for the great Sid Rosenberg.
I think I did get him over the top. I really did. Him and Ann Donnelly, who has won again, too. She's a great DA in Nassau County. But what a day again with Bruce, starting with me speaking to all the interns in Nassau County, including my beautiful son, Gabriel, and what a bunch of great kids I met yesterday. And then went over to the, like I said earlier, the Franklin Square headquarters for the Republicans, led by Bruce Blakeman. And then Bruce and I and my son went to Harbor Light Pub, which is right by our house, me and Lou, in Bell Harbor, right there on 130th. Right across the street, actually. This is unbelievable, Noam. Right across the street from where that plane crashed 2 months after 9/11. Remember that awful plane crash that came down and killed people inside their own homes and eventually crashed in Bell Harbor, literally right across the street from Harbor Light Pub. Yeah.
And there's that big memorial there.
There's a plaque. It's not huge. It's actually kind of small.
Is it? Oh, I haven't seen it in
It's
person.
a noticeable plaque. It's by a tree
It's
on
down a little
131st.
bit. Right.
It's down about a block or so. Only about a block away. But Sean does a great job there, and I do want to thank Joe Harkins. Joe and his brother Billy. Joe did a fantastic job putting this event together yesterday. And, you know, the speakers were all great. It started with Joe Cairo. I got to tell you, Joe Cairo, he is a funny bastard. He is funny. He's smart, and we know how great he is, the job he's done in Nassau County all these years in what is a really Democratic county. People like Bruce Blakeman win in big fashion. Anthony D'Esposito's won there. Other Republicans win. And a lot of that goes back to Joe Cairo. Now, Peter King was not there yesterday. He'll be on this show this morning, but he's another one that deserves a lot of credit. But Cairo spoke. He was hilarious. I spoke. Bruce spoke. And our dear friend Thomas Sullivan, running for state assembly, the brother of Michael, Russ, Brian, all the great Sullivans, Brennan and Carr, Breezy Point. Tom's got to win. They cheated him the first time around, you know. So hopefully he'll win this time. It was just a great crowd. Howard Benjamin was there, the attorney who actually works with Bruce Blakeman. The Rockaway Republican Club was there. Mary Glynn, Paul King. I love Paul King. He's run for office twice. Margaret Powers. Yeah, the Wave was there. Lewis, Mark Healy, and Robert Pearl. I like Robert Pearl a lot. He's a great writer. Yeah, Joe Murray show up, the local attorney. Everybody loves Joe Murray. He was there yesterday. So it was a big local, if I forgot your name, I apologize, but it was a great local Rockaway crowd. They showed up in big numbers at Harbor Light, and Bruce is doing very, very well. The New York Post has a story out this morning that Kathy Hochul's lead, which was once, I believe, as high as 27 points, is now down to 4. Did you see that, Noam?
I did. It's incredible.
Whose poll was that?
That is a political action committee, a Blakeman political action committee.
Very cool. 4 points. 4 points. We can win. Look, the truth is, Kathy Hochul has done a terrible job with this state. I know Democrats vote Democrat. They don't care. I know people are going to hold the fact that Bruce Blakeman is very close with President Trump and very close with me. And they're going to hold it against him. I know there is still a percentage of New Yorkers who couldn't pick Bruce Blakeman out of a lineup. I know all that. But I got to tell you, This guy has run a great campaign. He's in Buffalo this morning, meeting with a whole bunch of union leaders. He's all over the state. I spoke to his deputy governor, lieutenant governor, I should say, Todd Hood, yesterday. Todd is a cop in Madison County up by Syracuse. He travels that whole tier up in New York, and he says, Sid, I'm being honest, all I hear about is we're sick of Hochul. We want Blakeman. All those areas, Utica, Syracuse, Rochester. So when folks are out there saying, Bruce has to get, he's there. Shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about. He's there. There's more work to do. We got about 100 days. There is more work to do. There is more work to do on social media. There's more work to do with events. We got to raise more money. All you people out there that complain about Kathy Hochul and you love Bruce Blakeman, here's an idea. Write a goddamn check. Write a check. We do need more money. We need the money. Write a check. And in the next 100 days, not only is he going to catch up to Kathy Hochul, he's going to run right past her. But we need your help. Bottom line, I know a lot of you have reached out. You know, Rosen, the guy that owns Junior's Cheesecake, he wants to make a big event. Mike Sullivan wants to make a big event. People reach out to me almost every day. Sid, I want to do something for Bruce. How do I do it? Feel free to do that. You want to reach out to me? I will get to Bruce in 5 minutes. I got to be honest, there's nobody in Bruce's life, nobody, that he gets back to as quickly as he does to me. Not people on his campaign, not his own family. That's how close me and Blakeman are. So if you really want to help, and you're not just talk, reach out to his campaign, reach out to me, and we'll get it done. Bruce Blakeman will be our next governor, because if he's not, we're dead. It's really that simple. Rich Lowry, National Review, starts off a guest list of a big six. Rich Lowry is coming up next.
This is Sid on Sports. Oh, my goodness! Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here with your sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal under you. Peerless Boilers are the world's best-built boilers out in Chicago. Garrett Cole pitched 6 shutout innings before he hit ball. The Yankees beat the White Sox 3-2 for their 5th victory in 6 games. Anthony Volpe hit an RBI double in the second and scored on Max Schumann's 2-run double as the Yankees moved within a game and a half of AL East leading Tampa Bay. Up next for the Yankees, Cam Schlittler will get the start against Chicago righty Davis Martin in tonight's game 3 of 4 against the White Sox. First pitch from Chicago scheduled for 7:40 p.m. in Queens. The middle game of the Mets series against the visiting Atlanta Braves was postponed last night due to inclement weather, called more than 5 hours before the scheduled first pitch. It's been rescheduled as part of a day-night doubleheader today and tonight. Left-hander Sean Manaea, originally slated to pitch tonight, will start the first game, scheduled for a 1:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. The scheduled starters for last night, Mets right-hander Christian Scott and Braves all-star left-hander Chris Sale will pitch in the nightcap, set for a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Queens. That is your sports, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
After that great day with Bruce will join me at 8:30, and Peter King will join me at 7:50. That's a lot in Nassau County. Rich Lowry is the editor of the National Review. He's on every week. Why? Well, because I like him, but he's also brilliant. He really is great. His stuff is often syndicated in the New York Post. He's on Fox News multiple times a week, but he does his best work, like all my guests, right here. Rich, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good, Sid. How are you?
I'm excited. I want to see Ron Johnson and everybody else on the Hill today beat Anthony Fauci to death. How about that?
You know what? The only thing worse than Anthony Fauci's obsession with his media appearances in his diary must be your diary, Sid.
Oh, yes. You're right. But here's a difference. I admit it publicly. He does it in the diary. I admit I'm a megalomaniac. I'm a psycho. And I love every second of it when I get stopped 100 times in the street every day. But on a serious note, this guy lied from day one, put our kids in a very dangerous situation, pumped out these vaccines, and now we're seeing years and years later the health issues with that, lied about the origins of COVID. I mean, you talk about some of the real scoundrels over my lifetime, almost 6 decades. He's got to be near the top of the list. Or am I exaggerating?
It's bad. I think the worst lie is he said publicly, because everyone now knows it was such a catastrophic choice, that he had nothing to do with any lockdowns or school closures. And then you have in the diary, de Blasio calling him and Newsom's chief of staff calling him, and Fauci's encouraging them to shut down the schools. So it's like technically, literally true. He didn't go and padlock any school doors himself, but he was the motive force for that happening, and it was terrible. We're still paying the price for our kids.
They're morons. Our kids are morons. Not mine. I mean, mine are brilliant.
They can't read.
They can't read. They can't write. They can't compete with any of these other countries. And, and of course, who jumped on board with this evil Fauci? Well, it's also two traitors. I mean this. They're traitors. People like Randy Weingarten, Michael Mulgrew, that whole education union. Those people should be put in prison with Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, you had a lot of teachers who didn't want to work, basically, or were paranoid about the virus, so they didn't want the kids in their schools, or they wanted to work remotely too, or whatever it was. Please. It was a debacle. And then he's also on the origins. If you squint just the right way on things he said publicly, there's always a little wiggle room. I mean, that's one way this guy operates. But you look at his diary; it's pretty forthright. It wasn't the wet market, right? It came somewhere else, and it might have been the lab. And they're very serious people who thought it was the lab right from the beginning.
Me too.
But he was poo-pooing it for about a year. And so I think May 2021, he finally said, I can't rule out the lab leak. But all of us who are suspicious of the lab or thought it was the lab, we were racist, we were conspiracy theorists, all of it.
Yeah, I get called that every day. I don't care, but I still think it's a lab. I thought it was a lab from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But the issue with this is, Rich Lowry, and I had one of my best listeners, Ralph Napolitano, text me this morning, and he's right, is that there are never repercussions. So this clown, who really hurt a lot of people here, he goes up on the Hill today. Ron Johnson and others are going to kill him. They're going to kill him, and there's not going to be any repercussions. Like, no one ever goes to prison. No one ever really, their life never really completely falls apart. They go to the Hamptons, So that's the frustration with Americans who care about this type of stuff.
Yeah, he'll be welcome in the Hamptons forever.
Yeah.
But, if he didn't commit crimes, you can't throw him in jail. You can't.
But he did commit crimes. He committed awful crimes. It's just that, it's not always that easy to prove it, but he committed awful crimes. I can guarantee you that. Awful.
I will say the accountability on its own, just knowing the truth, the transparency, that's important. And two, this is a guy who cares so much about his reputation. He's not a happy camper yesterday when these diaries were released. So at least there's that.
Yeah, I think Rand Paul is such an asshole, but I like him today.
No, I mean, he has had this bone in his teeth for a while.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like someone who has a righteous cause, and they're going to hunt it down no matter what and just never give up. And that's the way Paul's been on this.
Yes, he has. Let's get to yesterday, Lindsey Graham's funeral. I know you loved Lindsey Graham. I don't even know. Were you close? Did you have a relationship? Because
friendly.
Friendly. Yeah. Very similar. You're very similar in the way you thought about, wars and aggression. I'm not demeaning you.
I know what you mean. No, he was a little too interventionist even for me.
Oh, he was.
We're broadly on the same side. And if you're just interested in how to advance the ball on some issue, it was so great to talk to Lindsey because he was always talking about it, right? Always thinking about it, always coming up with some scheme, and I mean that kind of not in a pejorative way, but some plan to advance the ball. So he's always fascinating to talk to and highly entertaining.
He was a funny guy, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. So you also had Bibi there yesterday, and Trump, it was funny, and I'll talk about this with Victoria Coates too, but, President Trump has gone out of his way the last couple of months to show the world he's number one. In fact, I tell people when he's really rough on Bibi, and it bothers me, it does, but I know what he's doing. All those people out there that say it's Bibi's war, like Curtis Sliwa, that moron. Okay, so Trump goes out of his way to bash Bibi, not because he's mad at Bibi, he doesn't love Bibi, but he's
top dog.
Right, I'm the top dog. So the truth is, I think that it was Bibi in Israel that told America about Pickaxe Mountain, the latest spot where Iran has some nuclear spot popping up. But Trump comes out yesterday and goes, "We got the best cameras." Yeah, we got the best cameras. Come on. He just wants to at least make it seem, even if Bibi and Israel are providing us with top intelligence, that he is a top guy. He did it again yesterday.
Yeah, of course. And he's talked about the cameras a lot because his idea is, maybe they have some nuclear infrastructure left, but we're watching it, and if they ever touch it or becomes active again, then we'll hit them again. But this is, last couple of weeks he's just been all over the place again on the Iran war. You never know quite where it's going to land.
What do you think about Bruce Blakeman's chances of beating Kathy Hochul? And you can be honest, I love Bruce. Was with him all day yesterday. Speak to Bruce 2 or 3 times every day. My son works for him. You can be honest. Do you think Bruce Blakeman has a good chance of beating Kathy Hochul?
I think it's very tough. In a year like this, for a different kind of midterm, and there were a Democrat in office, and it was the midterm 2 years in, and that Democrat's approval was around 38 or 40 or whatever it is, then he'd have a shot. But I think it's going to be very tough in any kind of blue state this year.
What would you recommend if you were sitting with Bruce Blakeman today at one of his campaign meetings? What would you tell him to do to give himself a better chance?
Well, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I think it's the environment that's the problem in a race like that.
That the state, these awful New Yorkers. I mean, they're just.
But look, New York deserves a choice, and he's going to give them one and run a vigorous campaign. He's done a fantastic job.
He is doing a fantastic job. He's up in Buffalo this morning with about 60 union leaders. I do want to talk about the midterms, though. You brought it up. I didn't. You did. And it's always a sore spot with me because, well, to be honest, I'm scared to death. I know if we lose the House, then basically the last 2 years of Trump's presidency amounts to a lot of aggravation. That's it. So I always ask you about Biden versus Trump and then Harris versus Trump and all these questions every week. I'm doing the same thing with the midterms. How do you feel today?
The same. I think Republicans will win the House. Hakeem Jeffries is the next Speaker of the House.
No, you think Democrats will win the House?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Republicans. You got me excited.
Yeah, Democrats will win. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries isn't switching parties.
There goes my erection. See ya.
Yeah, Democrats will take the House. I don't think they'll take the Senate, but I think it could be a narrow thing in the Senate.
Hakeem Jeffries is going to be the Speaker.
Yep.
Is that not the end of? Is that not the end of? That's the end of all times. No.
But Trump is so energetic. So much of what he's done has just been on his own executive initiative. It's not, his presidency isn't going to end, but it's going to be a major pain in the neck for him. Everyone around him, everyone's going to get subpoenaed. Everyone's going to be called up to testify. The whole thing's going to be investigations, and there'll be another impeachment.
Somebody called me yesterday and said, "Sid, don't be surprised if you even get subpoenaed." I go, "What do you really?
Why not?
You're
at a podium with the president, weren't you?
3 times. 3 times. 3 times more than Jackson Dart. How about that?" No, they were serious. They're like, "Sid, don't be surprised." I said, "Oh, whatever." Last one, I had this gentleman on the show yesterday, Rich. His name is Giovanni Galante. And his wife, Grace, was murdered in the South Tower, I believe, back on 9/11. She was 29 years old. It was such an emotional, heartbreaking conversation. We both cried. He's the guy that started the petition to keep this, this terrorist, anti-American, anti-Semite mayor, Mamdani, away from that sacred soil come 25-year commemoration 9/11. And I know a lot of the 9/11 families don't talk because they're afraid of political repercussion, but they all agree with me and Galante. They don't want him there. This guy's friends with all these people who hate America. They don't want him there. So when Galante called in yesterday, he had about 16,000 signatures. By this morning, it's over 40,000. That goes to show you the power of Sid Rosenberg. But on a serious note, what do you think about that? I am 100% behind it. I don't want the mayor anywhere near that Freedom Tower. What about Rich Lowry?
Totally understand the impulse and reflex, and it's been amazing what he's done. But the mayor's going to be there. I mean, that's just he's going to be there.
But if he cared about New Yorkers and the families, and you get 100,000 people, and all these families to say, "I don't want you there," how can you possibly say, "I'm going to stand arm in arm to honor these people," when they're making it very, very clear on a very public level they don't want you there?
No, I wouldn't depend on the decency and discernment of the mayor in this matter.
Yeah.
He's a dangerous ideologue associated with the kind of anti-Americanism that at the end of the day motivates groups like Al-Qaeda. he shouldn't be there, but he'll show up.
That's why Bruce Blakeman has to win, too, because he will hold Mamdani in check. And let me say something, too. If Mamdani does something that goes above and beyond, Blakeman is not looking to remove him because he believes in elections and the guy won, unless Dr. Naomi Wolf comes back on or Honig comes back on and is really able to prove that election was not right. That could still happen. But Blakeman believes the guy wins. But if he does something above and beyond, unlike Hochul, Blakeman will remove Mamdani. You know that.
Yeah, that would be a radical step. I mean, just having in Albany, that was a check on Mamdani would be huge.
Right. Richard, I love you to pieces. The Yankees are winning a lot of ball games lately. The whole team is hurt. They're still winning.
I don't know how they're winning with that lineup.
Oh, I'll tell you how.
I look at it every day and like, this isn't happening.
But I'll tell you how. Garrett Cole, Slittler, Max Fried, they still are the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, something I was totally wrong about at the beginning of the season. I thought the bullpen was going to be bad or at least kind of average.
Me too.
It's been fantastic.
I know. They did a good job with that. I was worried about that, too. At any rate, Rich, you're always amazing. I love you. Thank you. All right. Rich Lowry right there, the editor of the National Review, does a fantastic job on this show every week. Nomi's got the news.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know, what do you call those things where your toes hang out? The
flip-flops?
Thank you. Flip-flops and T-shirts and shorts, and nobody cares about who's got a bigger house or who has a bigger car or what celebrity is in the neighborhood. We don't care. And I live on the beach, and I don't need to go to the Hamptons to go to the beach or any place else. So I'm not a big fan. Been going for years. Like I say, I get there maybe once or twice a summer. And usually I go because I'm getting paid. So I've got a big event coming up next Sunday. I've been invited by the Boots for Israel, my friend Mark. It is a great organization. And I've done stuff with these guys in the past. And they've got a big dinner coming up at the house of Dee and Adam Hutt. Happens to be in West Hampton. So next Sunday, I will be in the Hamptons between 5 and 8 p.m. in West Hampton to do some work for my friends with the amazing organization Boots for Israel. What do you think, Noam?
It's big.
Are you big with the Hamptons? What is your...
I have a brother that has a house out there, so I get out there every once in a while.
Yeah, what do you think?
You know, I like the Jersey Shore better.
Oh, so do I. Yeah, the Hamptons is my least favorite of all of it. Jersey Shore, the Catskills, all of it. Because, again, it tends to be ostentatious and I'm, wealthier than you and better than you and maybe not Southampton and certainly Quag. You get to the other Hamptons, Justin never goes. I know,
No,
Lou,
not really. I mean, it used to growing up. My grandparents had a house.
Yeah. You ever go, Lou?
I don't go. It's too far. It's
too far.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's nice.
That's nice, of course.
It's okay.
If I had enough money to have a place, I'd have a helicopter. But
we got a beach. Where we live, so.
I have a nice beach, yeah.
Right.
I'm fine.
But I am going West Hampton next Sunday night. That would be April the 9th. So if you're in that community and you love me, odds are you do, then stop by the house of Dee and Adam Hutt and come say hello. Hamptons, it'll be my one visit this summer. Let's take a break. When we get back, I do love this lady. She's a brilliant woman. She works with the Heritage Foundation. She's the VP. Her name is Victoria Coates. And when it comes to foreign policy, she's right there with people like K.T. McFarland at the very top of the list. Victoria Coates.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
What is the real relationship right now, Mr. Prime Minister, between you and President Trump?
Well, it's never been better. I mean, one of the things that characterizes our friendship is that we talk openly with each other. Friends don't agree on everything, and sometimes they disagree. And we talk about it openly, in full candor.
Shout out to a lovely councilwoman from Queens, Vicky Palladino, listening this morning from Saratoga. She's up in Saratoga. Let me get to Victoria Coates, the Heritage Foundation. Victoria, you heard BB right there with me a couple of weeks ago. He was with President Trump yesterday, the Lindsey Graham funeral. Then they had a meeting. Trump once again showed his dominance, yelling at BB, "Don't tell me about Pickaxe Mountain. I know all about it already. I got great cameras," blah, blah, blah. I actually think that BB knew first. That's just my opinion. Either way, everything I heard, including a message personally from David Menzer and Dr. Opio Falk, was that the meeting went great between Bibi and Trump, and everything is better than fine. What do you think? Is Victoria there? Victoria.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go. Okay.
I was contending with the Coates family dogs, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Amazingly, the breathless report in Axios that a diminished Netanyahu had annoyed the president, and the meeting was going to be contentious, and there was friction, and there's daylight. It turned out not to be true. Once again, having tracked this relationship for now 8.5 years or whatever it's been, this happens every single time. And I guess it's clickbait. And so they keep publishing it. And it turns out not to be true because the president and the prime minister, yes, are big personalities. You've been in the room with both of them, and they both have very serious jobs. And what's more, they're both in an election cycle. And so, sure, there are going to be some points of disagreement, as the prime minister said, and as the president said. And, sometimes they're going to do things for political reasons that'll sort of annoy the other one, but it doesn't in any way threaten the bedrock of that relationship and the seriousness with which they take each other and with which they care for the alliance between our two countries, because they know it keeps us all safe.
100%. And you were sitting in that room with me. We were sitting together. You put on a great speech, actually, in Jerusalem less than a month ago when Bibi told us just what we heard yesterday, that him and Trump are great and they get along great. But like you said, those are two very big personalities. And you mentioned election, and Bibi, I believe the election is going to be in November. He's won 5 of the last 6. Despite when you speak to the Bibi detractors, they talk about his immense unpopularity in Israel and in New York and around the globe, yet he keeps winning all these elections. Somebody running against Bibi, one of these losers, actually came out yesterday and said that Israel kills babies as a hobby. This is somebody running for office in Israel. They want to beat Bibi so badly that they're willing to disparage the country's government. I found that to be disgusting.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like a winning platform to me. To say to the people who suffered through October 7th, who have done the just terrible work of rebuilding the country after that evil day, that they're killing babies as a hobby. No, guess who does that? That's Hamas. And I don't think Hamas is going to get elected by the populace of Israel. So, as I said, not a winning message. As I understand it, we have a couple of visiting fellows resident in Jerusalem for Heritage who keep us up to speed on kind of the nitty-gritty of politics there. And they're telling me that it's not even close for Likud leadership, that it will be Netanyahu. The sort of number 2 in Likud is Amir Ophir, the Speaker of the Knesset, who's a terrific guy.
Yeah, great guy.
And it might be a future leader, but that right now it really does look like the only person who's going to be able to put the government together is Netanyahu. And I, for one, certainly would not bet against him.
Yeah, me either. And I'm endorsing him enthusiastically. He needs to win. In fact, I'm going to make it my mission to fly Israelis from New York to Israel so they can vote. I don't think New Yorkers even realize this. If you're Israeli and you're in New York, you can fly back to Israel and vote for Bibi, can't you?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a dual citizen, that's what you can do. That's the whole point.
They need to do it. They need to make sure this man wins. It's been unbelievable what he's done the last couple of years since that tragic day. So where are we, Victoria, in this Iran situation? I know the U.S. and Saudi Arabia together beat up Iran a bit in Iraq, of all places, in Iraq yesterday. Seems like it's another ceasefire. I don't like these, that I'm on record saying that I want President Trump to finish the job. That bothers people like General Michael Flynn and Alex Jones and Joe Kent, these losers. But I feel that way. I felt that way since the very, very beginning. But how do you feel about where we are right now about this conflict?
Yeah, well, I think starting with the action with the United States and Saudi Arabia, this is really important, and this is what we're going to be talking about in a year, Sid. I don't think we're going to be talking about the Iranian regime anymore, because I don't think they can fix the problems that they have, but I think we're going to be talking about a new Middle East. And we've had Kuwait and Bahrain take independent strikes against Iran. We've had UAE take independent action against Iran. We are essentially using Jordan as a large military base at this point. I met with their essentially the chairman of their Joint Chiefs when he was in Washington last week, and they've said they're open to everything the United States wants to do, bigger bases. And then last night we had the Saudis and the United States together do strikes on Iraq, which means the new prime minister of Iraq signed off on that. It means he doesn't want his country run by these Shia militias anymore. It means the Saudis are sick of having their energy infrastructure menaced by the militias, and they're going to do something about it. So this is everybody else lining up with the Americans and the Israelis and against the Iranians. That's a huge development. So I think this can be a very effective tool that we can use to leverage all of the arms we've sold the Saudis, all the training we've done for them in Pensacola and other places to get after these enemies. And it's not just the Shia militias. I think it's also going to be the Houthi in Yemen. The Saudis aren't very fond of them either.
No.
So very good news along those lines.
You guys are doing great work at the Heritage Foundation. Victoria Coates with this story. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs. Newly released audio tapes discovered by a conservative activist group appeared to show Joe Biden sharing classified information with the biographer, and sometimes claiming memory lapses during interviews that occurred before his election to the presidency in 2020. About 3 hours of audio and 117 pages of transcripts with many redactions were released by the Oversight Project, an arm of your group, the Heritage Foundation, after Biden lost a prolonged legal fight to keep his conversations with his memoir ghostwriter Mark Lewis Zwanitzer private. So, as it turns out, Joe Biden, the former president, the cadaver himself, was sharing a whole bunch of very, very secret information with a ghostwriter. That's terrible.
Oh, it's absolutely outrageous. And bear in mind, this is the administration under Biden that raided President Trump's room, apartment, or whatever it is, in Mar-a-Lago for what they claimed was classified information.
Oh, my God. Worse than that, they went into Melania's underwear drawer. They were disgusting. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're doing this audio stuff. Biden said he had no idea. He walked downstairs and, oh, my God, here's some more classified documents.
Right. They were in a box beside his Corvette. And, I mean, he had not been president at that point. He did not have declassifying authority. And Mike Howell and his group at Oversight are just a national treasure for us. They've been working so hard to get this information out there. All the Democrats just keep saying, oh, it's in the past. We resolved that. It's not a problem anymore. No, people have to be held accountable because they don't act normally in terms of politics. They just switch people out at will. They don't follow the rules of democracy. And they'll shove somebody like Biden, who was incompetent before the election. That's what this proves, is the 2020 election was fraudulent because the candidate wasn't competent. And that is just such an outrage, and we can't let it just pass because they'll do it again. And, today it's Biden, tomorrow it's Graham Plattner. You pick, you're out of the alphabet soup of just wildly incompetent people they're trying to have govern us. And so all kudos to Mike. This is really important information, and we are enormously proud of Project Oversight.
I'm glad you're doing it. Look, a lot of people make excuses for Biden, even my own friends on this station and hosts and popular people. He didn't know what he was doing. Stop it. Stop it. Yes, there was an element of that. There's no question that Joe Biden had his cognitive issues. I know that. But to completely say, to say that, no, you can't blame him, that's nonsense. He did a lot of stuff he knew. When he sits there and goes, that son of a bitch, talking about the lawyer in Ukraine, he knew what he was talking about. He knew what money he was getting, and Hunter and all those cases that Miranda Devine, who will join me later, made popular, and Rudy Giuliani and the computer and all that stuff. So the idea that Joe Biden was just, completely out of it and had no idea what he was doing his whole presidency and before, I reject that notion. Sorry.
No, I do too. And even if you do grant them that, then who did know what was going on? Obviously, Dr. Jill had to know what was happening, and she facilitated it and aided and abetted it for her own personal power and for her money. And one thing I do think is funny, though, Sid, is Biden is coming out with yet another book that's coming out right around the election. So hopefully it'll be a repeat of Jill's disastrous book rollout. And right around the election, we're going to be talking about how incredibly bizarre Biden's behavior is, how incompetent he was, and gee, do we really want to hand the keys back to the Democrats?
That's a great point. God, that's going to help us big time. Victoria, as always, amazing work. Israel, Joe Biden, Iran, all of it. The Heritage Foundation does great stuff. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sid. Take care.
All right, Victoria, coach right there. We'll take a short break.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I walk the streets with Bruce. I go into places with Bruce. They go nuts.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear.
This is a great 1-2 combination. I mean, if Bruce is going to win this election, I'm going to say something right now that's going to surprise a lot of you.
It might surprise.
Yeah.
It might.
Shut up, Lou.
No, it might. Let's say
Be
I'd
quiet,
say
Lou.
50.
I'm begging you. If Bruce is going to win this election, he should really consider taking me on the road for almost every campaign stop. Now, you're surprised, right, Lou?
What did you just say?
What's that?
What did you just say?
Hello? Is this on? Is this on?
I got to wait.
What I said was,
the connection in my head.
Based on the couple times I've been out with Bruce and the amount of attention we both get, they love us. I may be the person to put Bruce right over the top.
I still don't think I heard you correctly. I'm having a tough time.
Idiot. God, what's the matter with you?
That is something that's very
foreign. Well, did you not hear Bruce say yesterday that he won that first time around? Who put him over the top? Me. He said that, did he not? We played the audio 3 times already this morning. You heard him say that? Or did you hear him say that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
I did hear it.
Why is this so far-fetched? They go nuts.
I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly.
Yeah,
that's all.
I know you're surprised. I don't say stuff like that ordinarily.
It's quite foreign to me, and most days.
No, he's doing a great job. He's only down by 4 points out of the New York Post this morning, and he's got great people behind him. Joe Cairo, I love Joe Cairo. He is so funny, man. That guy speaks. You know what he said yesterday? He goes, "There are famous people. They only go by one name, Madonna."
No, don't. I'm just. This will be completely in.
Cher.
No,
Jesus. And Sid.
I just look how
he
waited.
Say Jesus.
He waited till. No, you just said Jesus.
I added that.
Jesus and then Sid.
Joe Cairo, I love him. And the other guy that's great in Blakeman's corner is Peter King. I mean, come on. 2 best politicians in New York forever. King and Giuliani. Giuliani and King, whatever order you want. So with that said, here he is, the great Peter King. Pete, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Is this Jesus? Sid. How you doing, Sid? Good to hear.
I got to tell you, all seriousness, I'm only kidding about myself, but I love...
No, you're not.
Maybe I'm not. You're right. I'm not. Pete knows me too well. But I love the way the crowds react. We're walking in the street or going to an event. I've done a bunch with Bruce already. He's invited me to Cooperstown and other spots across the state. But they go nuts for this guy. They love him. They love him.
Yeah, Bruce has that intangible. I don't see anybody going nuts for Kathy Hochul. I'm serious about that. I mean, Bruce has that ability. And I go back to when he ran against Laura Curran, who actually was a very popular county executive. She had done a pretty decent job. And Bruce was down by 24 points in that race, and he won because he just kept going and going, making his case, not attacking the opponent, just making his case. And people love him. They really do. They're attracted to him. My daughter worked with him for years. They were both on the town board together. And she always said with Bruce, you can trust him. There's no malice in Bruce, but he's tough as can be. He's a great guy. Also, you mentioned Joe Cairo. I was with Joe all yesterday morning. And Joe doesn't drink, but if he did, I think he'd have to get. No, he had an afternoon with you ahead of him. But in any event, Joe is first of all, he's the best political leader in the country, and unlike you or I or even Bruce, he's the most mild-mannered guy. He's funny when he's in the room.
Yes,
he walks down the street, he's just calm.
He's quiet. He's very quiet.
Right, and you would never know there's the most powerful political leader in the United States, and he really is. He is the record. But anyway, you were down at the Harbor Light. I used to go there. Bernie Durham, the owner, was a great guy. A lot of firefighters were there. After 9/11, I was there quite a bit. And that just is a great place. That, to me, Harbor Light, Bell Harbor, that whole neighborhood, that to me constitutes what America is all about. That is the best of America right there. You're really living in like a Valhalla. That is great. Where you are, with those people around you, to me, it's just, it was always comforting just going in there, talking to Bernie, talking to all his customers in there. That's, again, they are real people. And you mentioned the two Tom Sullivans you were talking about before. Tom Sullivan from Nassau County, salt of the earth. Tom Sullivan running for the Assembly. He won in 2022, I guess it was, and got robbed. And then
That's right.
he had a good race in 24. I think he's going to do it this year.
Me too.
That whole family, they're great. The brothers are just, again, it's a great family. And that's what America is about. And that's what we have to fight for. And Bruce is going to, I think, he's going to win, and he's going to be a phenomenal governor.
Agreed.
And he's going to save the state.
Agreed. You know, the my area, every house has American flags. Some have 3, you know, and every street corner's got it, and it's very similar to yours. I remember the first time I really got to know your area well was when you and your beautiful wife, Rosemary, were kind enough to invite me and Danielle to the Jonathan Diller funeral. What a sad day that was. But I remember all your neighbors walking out into the street with sandwiches and water and soda for all the folks that were going to the funeral. And there were American flags. I know it makes Sonny Hostin uncomfortable, a traitor. But on a serious note, there are American flags everywhere. So my neighborhood, your neighborhood, very similar. And you talk about Harbor Light. You know this, Pete. You mentioned 9/11. 2 months after that, the plane crashed right across the street.
And it actually wrecked the Harbor Light. They were out of business for a while. They had to rebuild it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That was a rough time for my community. I wasn't living there at the time. But I do want to get to 9/11, though, because I know you listen every day. And you heard yesterday Giovanni Galante on this show. When he came on, they had about 15,000 signatures on this petition to keep that creep, that anti-American, anti-Semite jihad mayor away from that site. Now it's up to about 45,000 since he came on the show yesterday. Still not nearly enough. I want that thing close to 1 million by the time it's said and done. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. But I got to think, Peter King, that you're on the same page as me. You don't want this mayor anywhere near that sacred site, right?
Yeah, actually, I have 2 thoughts. One, absolutely, he does not belong there. He should not be there. I mean, I was there with President Bush right after 9/11. I was down there so many times after that. I was close to so many families. To me, that was my main cause, if you will, in Congress, fighting for 9/11 health care, fighting to get the money for the cops and firefighters. All of that is so important, and he has no business being anywhere near ground zero on 9/11. My only concern, Sid, is I don't want this to become about him. I don't even want his name mentioned on 9/11. So he, just like with Netanyahu, how he had this phony thing, he knew he could never arrest him, but he got 2 weeks in the news cycle. It was all about Vandami. Sure. So that's the only concern I have going forward on this. But no, he does not belong there. People should tell me he doesn't belong there. I just hope that whatever happens is over before 9/11. That whole day, he should not even be mentioned. I mean, that's a sacred day. There's just nothing to me in our history, certainly on the American homeland, compares to 9/11 and the suffering that goes on today. There are still people suffering today. Every week you hear somebody dying from 9/11 illness and others being treated for it. There's thousands and thousands of people still suffering, besides the incredible suffering that those 9/11 families have gone through over the years. And again, I know many of them well. I'll be with one of them this weekend out in the Hamptons, and that's the only time I go to the Hamptons. So, like, you know, 9/11, I'm like you, by the way.
I know you are. And, you know, you bring up all the work you've done, and I have to keep bringing it up every time you mention it because, God, you're such a great American. So on the 12th, I'm going to host this big event at the theater for the pipes and drums for all the cops. It's a big deal, very big deal. The 11th is that big day. But the 10th, your friend Jon Stewart, who refers to me as Thanos, Jon Stewart and Pete Davidson, who lost his father on 9/11. They're holding a big event at Madison Square Garden. And I always give Jon Stewart credit because he did a great job along with you and others in making sure these 9/11 families get money forever. I know I asked you about this a week or two ago, but it's worth repeating. Where are we exactly in that process?
We are doing as well as we possibly could right now. There is enough money in there to have full examinations of everyone who's down at ground zero. That's important. Anyone, even to this day, if you were anywhere near ground zero, please go in. You're entitled to get a free health care checkup because there are illnesses you could have that you don't even know about. that get detected later on. So get that initial checkup so it's on record and go forward. They have special doctors who treat 9/11 patients, who are able to detect diseases, treat the patients, and now there's enough money in the fund, finally, that'll last to the end of the century. It took us about 8 years to even get the bill through, which I found so infuriating in the first place. And then we put money in. Each time money was put in there is what the accountant said was enough to cover all potential victims. We had no idea how many people were going to come down with 9/11 illnesses 10, 15 years after 9/11. There were these rare blood diseases, disorders, there's other cases now we're working on. We're trying to get them approved as far as being related to 9/11 because they're like these 1 in a million illnesses that people are getting who are down there. So no, it's we are in excellent, God, I say excellent shape. We're in excellent fiscal shape. We're in excellent shape as far as providing the care. But the people who are suffering from those illnesses are not in great shape, but they will be kept alive and treated. And hopefully also many illnesses will be detected before it's too late.
You've gone down to Washington, D.C. more than once over the last couple of years, Pete King. And they were talking about China and Russia and Hamas and Iran, all these enemies that are trying to destroy America. Okay, America first, not Israel, America. But you keep reminding people that, hey, we've got an issue right here. You know, you believe that Hezbollah, for example, is here. You believe that other terror groups are here. And you have said more than once on this show that you would not be surprised, maybe you even expect another major attack right here in New York and in this country. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, and first of all, I hope it never happens. So I hope I'm not proven right. Okay, let me just say that clearly up front. But no, and that's why out in Nassau County, for instance, I'm involved in advising on terror issues, and this is real. I mean, there's a real terror threat. It's there now because Al-Qaeda is still there, ISIS is still there, and they have all these self-starters, these lone wolves, and in many ways they are better organized than they were on September 10th.
But let me stop you for 1 second. You're right. Because people say to me, well, what are they waiting for? It's 25 years since the big one. And there's been some other attacks here, obviously, the driver on the West Side Highway years ago. And there's been some stuff. But what are they waiting for? And I say, well, hold on a second, okay? If you talk to Jessica Tisch or you talk to the FBI or even talk to Ray Kelly, they have thwarted attempts time and time again. They don't tell you every time somebody parks a truck outside in Times Square ready to blow up a whole block. But that happens all the time, yes?
It happens quite a bit, and certainly just under Ray Kelly alone, I believe they stopped like 17, 18 potential attacks, including blowing up the Brooklyn Bridge, the New York City subway system. I mean, I was actually with Ray Kelly when there was liquid explosives coming in from Colorado to blow up the New York City subway system. That would have been absolutely catastrophic. It was stopped right near the end. They were following these guys coming in because they wanted to wait until they got here, only because they wanted to find who else was involved. But they were afraid they might have waited too long. I remember that was the only time I ever saw Ray Kelly ever show any concern to make sure that they didn't wait too long before they apprehended these guys. And that was that. Let me just say on that, too. They had one imam that the police thought they could trust, and they asked him for information about someone. He was the guy who tipped them off. The one guy they thought they could count on tipped off the other plotters to get away. So that also shaped a lot of my thinking about who we can trust and not trust in that community. But no, as far as it's there, and what's different too between now and 9/11 is that we are coordinated all around the world. Even when we have hard feelings with them, we work closely with French intelligence, British intelligence. German intelligence is 50-50. Some of it's good, some of it's not. And also countries like Jordan. Jordan is phenomenal. Egypt is very good. Obviously, Israel is a phenomenal ally in this. So they could not have been able to do a 9/11 plot the way they did. They were meeting all over Europe. They're meeting in Germany. They're meeting here. They're meeting there. And ISIS Al-Qaeda was able to coordinate. They couldn't do that today. But they've also gone underground. They've adapted. So no, we have to worry about them. We be concerned about them. And there are any number of plots that are being stopped. A lot are being stopped overseas. And when I say overseas, again, the NYPD, they have people working overseas with these various governments. So we hear about it, we stop it, or they stop. I'm not involved anymore like that. But I mean, it's actually stopped. And so there's any number of plots have been stopped, both here in New York and in Europe, and actually in the Middle East also, and planning on coming here. But we can never, ever let our guard down. They have a long view of history. I mean, they were, remember, it was a long time. It was, the first World Trade Center attack was 1993. The next one was 2001. That was 8 years, and we were really unprepared then. We were not ready, did not anticipate how severe that could be and how well organized and determined Al-Qaeda was.
Last one, I'd be remiss not to cover this with you because you know this as well as anybody. Zelensky at the White House yesterday, and it's nice that him and Trump get along better, and Trump now actually goes out of his way to compliment the Ukrainian people and their military and Zelensky. But watching yesterday and reading and paying very, very close attention, I didn't get the feeling that when Zelensky was done with Trump, that we are anywhere closer to ending this war between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, I don't think Putin is going to sit down with Zelensky anytime soon, and I don't think anyone can convince Putin, no matter what, to stop doing what he's doing. But you're the expert here. What do you think?
Well, I'm no expert, but I would say the main thing was from that is Zelensky still has the approval to go ahead with Patriot missiles. In fact, he met with Lockheed yesterday, and that's been authorized and okayed by President Trump. That is significant. And what Zelensky has done, what they've done as far as perfecting drone warfare is phenomenal. If they get the Patriots, because really all Russia has left are these missiles coming in, and because they're running out. They're using North Koreans, they're using Africans, everyone in the Russian army, so depleted. And so if they can get the Patriot missile system set up in Ukraine, and Zelensky is able to penetrate far into Russia with the Patriot missiles, now he's not going to win the war to that extent. But if they can stop Russia, as Russia realizes it's time to come, give them some sort of a fig leaf, give Russia some small part of Ukraine that's incidental, and call out a compromise. But I think right now it's no win really for both sides, but Ukraine cannot surrender at all. If they give up anything, if this ends and Russia has the upper hand, they will be slaughtering Ukrainians for the next 20 years.
I agree. Pete King, that is an unbelievable appearance, man. You're great every week, but this one was right near the very, very top. As always, I love you. Thank you so much. Great job.
I'll see you at the Harbor Light. We got to go to the Harbor Light one night.
Yeah, you should come for sure. Lou will come with us, too.
I love that place.
Yeah, me too. Sean does a great job, and you knew Bernie, of course. No, Bernie, I should say. So, yeah, let's do that one time, Peter King. Let's do it. I love you. Thank you.
You're the man. Thanks, Jay.
You are too. Pete King right there, the former amazing congressman. He's done so much for this country, too, post 9/11. He's a real hero when it comes to that stuff. I can't emphasize that enough. And you guys know how much 9/11 means to me. All right, we'll take a break. Lots more to do. Anthony Fauci, that creep.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know, this guy, this radio guy, he's like Cher, like Madonna. Sid, the one-word wonder. And I know a lot of you can't stand when we do stuff like this because you already use that word narcissist time and time again, which is so stupid. But, and I don't care. But, Justin, you've added a couple of more people to that list. Actually, Russ Sullivan added Elvis. Now, who did you add?
I added Seal.
I like that.
And Prince.
Prince. That's a very good one right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Madonna, Cher, Seal, Prince, Elvis, Jesus, and Sid. Pretty good list of stuff. What do you think, Lou?
There is, I can't add anything.
You could throw Moses on that list.
I guess you can, right?
Yeah, I mean, try and guess Moses' last name.
Malone.
What?
Malone.
Yes.
Very good job. Moses Malone. You should have known that, Justin. Come on.
You're right. I should have known that. You're right.
Moses. I think he died years ago, right? Moses Malone?
Is he dead?
I think
well, the
dead,
original Moses died a long time ago.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah, that's a very good job out of you. You're no dummy, Justin. Nothing gets by Justin.
Both great rebounders, too.
Yeah.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Went on over to Bruce's headquarters in Franklin Square. That was fun. And end of the day in our neighborhood at Harbor Light, Sean did a great job, Joe Harkins, and Bruce spoke great, and everybody loves Bruce. And everybody knows that the only chance we've got to save our state, because we're losing it. City's already gone. We'll get to that with Bruce. But the state is not far behind. The only way we save it, it's not with Hochul. It's with Bruce Blakeman. He's the guy. So here he is, my brother and dear friend and the next governor here in New York, Bruce Blakeman. Bruce, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sid. Everything's great. Listen, I like the analogy to Moses because I'm hoping you'll part the Red Sea for me. Or the Blue Sea, I should say. Make it the Red Sea.
Right. Make the Blue Sea the Red Sea. I like that. Now, you know what I mean? You're doing great. I know I kind of joked around last segment that when you and I hit the road together, people love us, but you are doing a great job. And I know that because I read the New York Post this morning, and you have now shaven, this is unbelievable, 22 points off of Kathy Hochul's initial 26-point lead. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but you are way ahead of even what Lee Zeldin was doing years ago, and he came very, very close.
Well, Lee ran a great race, but I have an advantage over Lee because when Lee ran 4 years ago, he was telling everybody all the bad things Kathy Hochul's going to do, and he was absolutely right, but he didn't have the evidence, the proof. I have the proof. We've got her 4-year record. We're last in economic outlook. That's a national embarrassment that the once great empire state is number 50 out of 50 states in economic outlook. We're the most overtaxed states. Our electric bills are 70% higher than the national average. We've spent $11 billion of taxpayer money, between $8 and $11 billion of taxpayer money on illegal migrants who aren't New Yorkers. And people are really upset with her pro-criminal policies that make it less safe in our communities. So this is the perfect storm for the Democrats between Hochul and Mondami, who are both doing just a terrible job in running the state and the city. So we are in a virtual dead heat now, which means, look, if we're in a virtual dead heat now, we're going to win the election because Kathy Hochul's unfavorables are anywhere between 56 and 60%. That means 56 to 60% of the people just don't like her and don't think she's doing a good job. She's not going to come out of that. People want to change, and they know that I have a record of achievement. I know how to run a large organization, and I actually want to make New Yorkers happy again.
What you do so well, Bruce, I'm not just, blowing smoke up your butt or patronizing you, is while you point out all the things that she's done badly, and there's a lot of them, what you're able to do, you did this again yesterday, and really every time I watch you speak live or on Laura Ingraham or Maria Bartiromo or this show, is you tell everybody how you're going to fix it, right? I mean, we know, for example, that she's buying energy from Pennsylvania, even though she's got it right here in New York. And you say, no, we're going to make it happen right here in New York. You can list for me right now 6 or 7 things that you will do to fix this state. So, Bruce, take the floor.
Well, let's start out with energy policy. So Kathy Hochul is engaged in a scam. It's called the green energy scam, where every month when you pay your electric bill, you're paying a portion into a fund. She gets to decide where it's invested. It's invested in crazy science projects that produce very little energy. They're very costly, and you're paying for it. So from day one, the green energy scam is gone. Number 2, we have one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world here in New York State, and we don't extract that natural gas. In Pennsylvania, they do. That's why they drive brand new Escalades in Pennsylvania. And on the New York side of the border, they're driving around 25-year-old rusted-out pickup trucks. And we could create such an incredible supply of natural gas energy that would increase the supply, bring down energy costs, end the green energy scam. I could easily cut utility bills in half. Then let's go to tax policy. We're the most overtaxed state in America, and Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani, they have an insatiable thirst for raising revenue. They never cut spending. We have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Our budget in New York State is twice that of the state of Florida, with 4 million more people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say your first $100,000 are exempt from tax if you're a joint filer.
Wow.
If you're a single filer, your first $50,000 are exempt from state taxes. That's the way to stimulate the economy, put more money in people's pockets. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hire more state police. We are going to enforce laws that we need to change desperately. Cashless bail is a disaster. The HALT Act puts the prisoners in charge of our prisons. Raise the age gives gangs the opportunity to use minors to commit crimes because there's no consequences. Our state is in a death spiral, and I'm the pilot that can pull us out of it.
Bruce Blakeman, I love it, the pilot. So this question is maybe one you haven't heard yet. More difficult or easier, Bruce? More difficult or easier to run in this state now because you're running against two people, the governor, Kathy Hochul, but also the wretched, vile, America-hating, Jew-hating, Italian-hating, everybody-hating Mayor Mamdani. So is it more difficult because you're really running against two people, or easier because now you've got two examples of how badly a state can turn when they've got bad leadership?
Well, Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani are one of the same. Kathy Hochul is completely subservient to Mamdani. He's running the Democratic Party now, and she dances to his tune. So, yes, I'm running against two people right now, but it's the perfect storm for the Democratic Party. This is a situation where you got two leaders, the leader of the state and the leader of the largest city in our state, who are monumental failures. And I'm pointing out to people that the obvious is that unless I win as governor, you're going to get 4 more years of Hochul and 3 more years of Mamdani, and they will destroy
probably 7 more years of Mamdani, to be honest.
Well, I don't know about that because people are starting to wake up and realize, hey, how did your free bus trip go? Instead of getting a free bus trip, didn't they get a fare hike on the buses?
Yes.
Okay.
Rents too. Rents in Manhattan. I know he's got. Yeah.
Congestion pricing. I talk to middle class people, not only in Manhattan but from the outer boroughs, who say, I got to spend all this money for the privilege to drive on a public road that I already paid for with my taxes. It's ridiculous. It's just another tax. So the taxes that they want to raise on property owners, middle-class property owners in Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx, Staten Island. Zohran Mamdani says he wants to raise them 9.5%. Kathy Hochul's going to have to cave into him because he's running the Democratic Party. I'm not going to let our state government or the city government raise the property taxes of middle-class homeowners. That's the worst thing we can do. That'll make it less affordable. But they have no respect for property rights. They want to tax the inheritance of middle-class people so there'll be nothing left to leave to their kids and their grandkids. This has to stop, and I'm the guy to stop it.
You know, you've won 2 consecutive elections to win the Nassau County executive seat in a county that is mostly Democrat by big numbers. Anthony D'Esposito won there, too, not that long ago. Then you've got our mutual friend up in Rockland County, Mike Lawler. He's in the same situation, many more Democrats and Republicans. He always wins. So when people say, look, the numbers just don't bode well for Bruce, he can't win. What do you mean he can't win? I think you and Joe Carroll made this point yesterday. You've won with smaller Republican numbers. Mike Lawler wins with smaller Republican numbers. So even with the numbers and the odds against us, we've proven we can still win, no?
Well, that's because we get a vast majority of independent voters who lean our way because they have common sense and good judgment. And that's because we get common sense Democrats who come up to me every day, Sid. I had a woman come up to me the other day, 65 years old. I'm not telling you her age because I asked her. She told me, she said, I'm 65 years old. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've never voted Republican in my life. I'm voting for you, Bruce, because my party is insane.
That's the bottom line. I'm so happy that people are doing things like that. And we've got examples, even Howard yesterday. He was standing right behind us, of people that have been lifelong Democrats. They can't do it anymore. They just can't do it anymore. Pat Russo checks in. Bring back qualified immunity for the cops. Get rid of the diaphragm law. NYPD are not the problem. It's the other folks. And Pat Russo happens to be right. I know you agree with that, Bruce Blakeman. I know you do. So you're all over the state. I think you're in Buffalo this morning. I think the weather turned out. I don't even know, to be honest. But, you know,
we missed our flight, unfortunately.
We did. Okay.
I'm very upset about it because I was going to meet a group of labor leaders up there. Paul Brown is the leader up there, and we missed it. Unfortunately, we've got a band of thunderstorms coming in, and they said we could probably get you up there, but we won't be able to get you back. And I've got Joe Cairo's big charity tonight, the Pat Cairo Family Foundation, that raises money for cancer research and Calvary Hospital. So I didn't want to miss that. And I have a fundraiser later today. So I got to get back up to Buffalo. I got to see those people in organized labor because they need help. I want to start apprentice programs in our community colleges for kids who may want to become a plumber, a carpenter, a sheet metal worker, an operating engineer. And, these are the types of things where we can create good jobs with good benefits for our young people so they'll stay here in our state.
100%. Well, get the guy that drove me into your offices yesterday, Tom Sullivan. He's a pilot. He's got a plane. He'll fly you there. Get Tom.
Tom said no go today. Tom said the weather's not good. You're not going.
You're not going. I know. On the way there, I know when I came into your offices yesterday, your beautiful office, you were having this big meeting with like 10 important people. And I broke the news to you. I said, you're not going, Bruce. And Chris Boyle was like, he's got to go. You're not going, Bruce. So by the time you were done, you weren't going. Let me get to the part of the campaign that's a little more difficult, and that is early on, you and I talked about name recognition around the state. There's been reports about money, how much money you guys have raised exactly. I know the real numbers, and they're very, very good. So some of the stuff that people talk about in terms of, I don't want to say criticizing the campaign, but saying things that you need to work on to ensure victory. Are any of these things concerns for you?
No, I get a lot of advice. Some of it's good. What I tell people now is we don't need advice. We need help. So make a contribution, volunteer, put a lawn sign up, make a list of people, make sure they get out to vote. Our campaign is doing very, very well. Think about how far we've come. We're in a virtual dead heat right now. And I'm very proud of something, Sid. You know how many views we got on social media just last month?
How many?
57 million.
Wow. Is that right?
So, yeah, we're probably in the top 5 campaigns in the United States right now on social media.
Huge.
So we're rocking and rolling. We're raising money. We need to raise a lot more. But the fact is that if you want to take back this state, if you want to get it out of the death spiral, if you want a place for your kids and your grandkids to grow up where there's opportunity and safe communities, go to BlakemanForNewYork.com, BlakemanForNewYork.com. We need your contributions. We need your help. Please volunteer. Put a lawn sign up. And like I said, get your friends and family off the couch and get them out to vote.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Really, you can make the argument, public enemy number one. A lot of people died. And there were still people getting sick. These vaccines and all the stuff that he actually promoted and keeping our kids away from school. Our kids are morons, to be honest. He's a very, very bad man, very bad. And Rand Paul, who I don't like, but I will give credit to people I don't like when I think they do well. Rand Paul's doing a great job here today. He has explained all of it, gain of function, all the research, the lies, the inconsistencies coming from Rand Paul. He's given, from Fauci, he's given Fauci opportunity after opportunity today to disarm him, disarm Rand Paul, Gary Peters, and others. And instead of doing that, this coward, this lying piece of garbage, Anthony Fauci, has now more than once used his Fifth Amendment right not to answer a question, not one. Now it's a circus because his douchebag attorney started talking, and Rand Paul said, buddy, you have not been recognized by the committee. Please stop talking. He was very nice. Rand was very nice. Please stop talking. The guy wouldn't shut up. So moments ago, with Laura Ingraham sitting right there, they removed Fauci's attorney from the room. And now it is Gary Peters out of Michigan who's talking to Fauci. And all Fauci does is take a sip of water, look straight ahead, and invoke his Fifth Amendment right. He's a clown. He's a bad guy. So we'll take a break and we'll come back and talk about how we got here to this Senate hearing this morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Anthony Fauci, who continues to invoke his Fifth Amendment right. He has not answered one question, not one. Miranda Devine, her new column is out, and the title is Anthony Fauci was the, quote, big head of COVID response. We heard about this yesterday. Ron Johnson on Fox News talking about how Fauci would love the fact that all these politicians, losers like Gavin Newsom and Bill de Blasio would, take him seriously. He became a fan of all the celebrities. He became a huge celebrity himself. He loved that. He's evil. Here she is, Miranda Devine. Miranda, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. I'm well. I'm just shaking my head about Fauci's performance right now in Washington. And, you said his lawyer was just thrown out. The lawyer, honestly, grandstanding and then taking his time to pack his stuff into his suitcase, making a big deal about it. And Rand Paul just said that Anthony Fauci has brought half a dozen lawyers along. Who's paying for that?
That's a very good question. We are, and there are half a dozen, which means there are still 5 sitting in that chamber somewhere next to Fauci. And I'm surprised. I really did think that he would answer at least some of these questions. I didn't speak to anybody the last couple of days that wasn't looking forward to a back and forth between Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci. So I must say, I'm a bit surprised. Are you?
I thought it was 50-50 that he would do that. And, Rand Paul, who's been absolutely stalwart and fantastic, unflinching as a chairman. You don't often see that with these Republicans. They're usually too nice. But he's quite happy not to be a nice guy. And he has told Anthony Fauci that it is illegal. It is a crime for him to appear and refuse to answer questions when he has been given a pardon. So I don't know. He said he'll take it further. Fauci doesn't care. He's such a narcissist. He's sitting there. He's reveling in the attention. And he still has his sycophants and his sucker-uppers in the media who are running cover for him.
He really does. And, yes, he was pardoned by Biden. So it is illegal. Rand Paul is right. But part of the problem is, and I've heard this 100 times today and yesterday, is that people are frustrated because there are never repercussions. We put these people on the Hill all the time. Some of them are really bad people. They've done really bad things. A lot of people died because of Anthony Fauci. But there never seems to be any real repercussions. Isn't that right, Miranda?
Yeah, it's certainly the way it seems. Look, various Republican chairmen, people like James Comer and so on, they get frustrated as well, and the media is frustrating, and we are frustrated with them. But it is, they keep pointing out that really Congress is not where you're going to have those kinds of, repercussions for people. It's really just a body that investigates and tries to bring transparency to an issue, and then it's up to the Department of Justice. And, the DOJ has shown zero interest. It's now 6 years on since COVID started, and no interest in bringing Anthony Fauci to book. So I think that's why Rand Paul is doing, within the bounds of his power, the best he can to try and set up a perjury trap for Fauci, because Fauci has lied about absolutely everything. Bobby Kennedy Jr. was correct yesterday when he said that. You can see from his diaries, apart from the fact that he's a total narcissist and vain and boasting and, celebrity whore, fame whore. He also said things in his diary that were completely at odds to what he was saying in public. Like, he knew very early on that the virus did not emanate from a wet market in Wuhan, that it came from the lab where he had funded secretly that dangerous gain-of-function research, outsourced it to China. And yet in public he's saying, oh, no, there's no evidence, and he was ginning up these scientists, many of whom owed him because he gave them government grants, these scientists wrote a bogus scientific paper saying that it didn't come from the lab, that it most likely came from a pangolin or some sort of animal, some sort of natural origin. And that was a total lie. And he pretended that this was nothing to do with him when emails show behind the scenes. He's there orchestrating it. He also orchestrated, as we found out from a CIA whistleblower, getting the intelligence community, including the FBI, briefed by his pet scientists so that the lie set in. He got away with literal mass murder.
Yeah, he really did. And then he compounded it by the vaccines. And Ron Johnson has done a very good job of pointing out just how dangerous medically these vaccines have been. And then turning a whole generation of our kids into morons. You know, making sure these kids never went to school with the help of more terrible people like Randy Weingarten and Michael Mulgrew. So, A, he lied. B, he knew all about the real origins of this virus. So people were dying, and then he compounded the problem by what he did afterwards, right?
The lockdowns, everything he did, the masks, the lockdowns, the vaccines, the cover-up, the coronavirus research he funded, all of it was just one disaster after another. And, you know, there's one section from I concentrated on his Vanity because I think it's so destructive to his like everlasting reputation. But there's lines in there where he says, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, and convinced him to close the New York City schools. I also told him he should close the bars and restaurants in New York. He said that he would, based this on my recommendation. You know, and then there's another one that shows how callous, really sociopathic callousness and lack of empathy. He writes on March 15, 2020, big day, USA equals 2,888 cases with 58 deaths. I did all 5 Sunday shows today. Right. My third Fauci 5. Right. This week on ABC, NBC, CBS, blah, blah. I mean, it was all about his media profile. It was all about celebrities like Barbara Streisand and Julia Roberts saying he's their personal hero. That's what his diary is all about while people are dying.
Terrible. And I read your column. You mentioned Orlando Bloom and Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, Amy Poehler. What a bunch of losers. Lily Tomlin, Sophia Bush, Matt McConaughey, I kind of like. I'm
Matthew
not going to lie to you.
McConaughey.
Yeah, I like him. Steve Buscemi, Magic Johnson, Joan Baez. So you think some of these people have actually now turned around and said, you know what, maybe I don't like this guy so much? Or do you think that these people remain steadfast in their support?
I think that they take their cues from the media that they consume. And I think one metric says it all. Media Research Center showed that CBS was the only one of the 5 networks that carried anything about the diary. They decided to do a blackout on Fauci's diary.
Is that right?
They had built him up as a saint. Yep,
wow.
According to the Media Research Center. Only CBS. And look.
And by the way, let me point this out. It was only CBS also carried Trump's speech 2 weeks ago.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Of course.
Yes.
Because Barry Weiss is there, and that's why they hate Barry Weiss.
Right.
I mean, she's not turning it into a conservative bastion.
Not yet.
She's just opening it up. I mean, she's not a right-winger.
No.
She's just being honest.
Right. So CBS in both cases, Fauci and airing the Trump thing, is the only network that came up big. And what were we going to say about the New York Times? Them too?
The New York Times wrote a piece, utterly dishonest, hosing down the Fauci stuff and pretending that somehow Rand Paul had done something really untoward by releasing the personal, private diaries of Anthony Fauci. And as Bobby Kennedy Jr. pointed out, that's totally dishonest and incredibly sloppy work by the New York Times, because this is a government piece of information. These are diary entries that Fauci made in work time on a government computer that Kennedy and his staff spent 8 months scouring 11 servers to dig it up where it had been secreted and deleted and hidden away. Fauci thought no one would find it. He put a lot of this stuff in his totally self-congratulatory autobiography, which just read like a total vainglorious love letter to himself. But it's just like his diary. But that was presumably why he did it, just to remind himself. He loves it. Like, even now you can see him sitting there leading the feast, and he's got his little fan base around him. The diary shows all the media sycophants who, behind the scenes, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, etc., were congratulating him because he was Trump deranged. And so the reason, I think, a big reason for his popularity, all the bobbleheads and the shrines to Anthony Fauci and the Fauci T-shirts and so on, all of that was the leftists who hated Donald Trump.
Yep.
And they saw Fauci as their best weapon against him. And he was. He really did a lot of damage to Donald Trump in 2020. And Trump was right and Fauci was wrong. But I guess it was too difficult. He was so powerful, Fauci, in the health realm. It was impossible, really, for even the president to go against him, at least at the beginning. In the end, it was just too late by the time Trump woke up.
There is one media member who's giving him the stink eye the whole time, and she's in every frame, and that's our friend Laura Ingraham. You can see her rolling her eyes, and she's looking like, I want to kill him. Great job by Laura. You know, a lot of people think that if the election wasn't rigged, okay, a lot of people believe it was, but if it wasn't rigged, the reason why Trump lost in 2020 was because of COVID. The country was doing great economically. We were killing it, and then it all fell apart. And Trump did the best he could, obviously, was given horrible advice by criminals like Anthony Fauci. But they do chalk it up to that. And I guess some are wondering, how vocal will Trump be about this? Now, Trump is mad at Bobby Kennedy. We know that because of the vaccines. He wants him to really, really do a whole rescheduling routine on those. He said that publicly. He's upset with Bobby Kennedy. But do you expect to hear more from Trump about Anthony Fauci's performance today?
Well, he did put out a truth this morning saying that, Fauci, he was onto him and that the damage that he did came primarily through Biden. And he says, I didn't know this, that he phoned Biden at the end of his presidency and warned him about Fauci, said he's a bad guy and he was wrong about everything. And he said Biden was receptive on the phone, but immediately sanctified Fauci. He'd also been talking to Fauci behind the scenes. That's evident in the diary that in 2020, Fauci boasts about how Joe and Jill Biden sent him notes and a cookie and a note and a cookie and said, please stay strong. You're doing such a great job. You're our personal hero. We need you. And there are other diary entries showing that he was helping Biden behind the scenes and pretending that he was not biased. And then, of course, Joe Biden made him his, White House medical advisor. And as Trump points out in this truth, more people died from the pandemic during Biden than had during Trump.
That's true.
And remember when Biden so disgustingly used to walk around, he'd have in his top pocket during the campaign a number, a death toll. He would read it out lasciviously like it was, a campaign bon mot. He loved it, little amuse-bouche that he would use to make himself look great and Trump look terrible. And then, of course, when the death toll went up higher and higher under him, and he kept us locked down and destroyed the economy, he stopped talking about it. And the media organisations that used to have a rolling count, they dropped it as well. So it was just, like now, the media has not learned a lesson. They're still doing what they did before, burnishing Fauci, not allowing their stupid audience who just don't understand how they're being lied to, just letting them believe that Fauci's a hero and then it's just right-wing fascists that are being mean to him and demonizing him.
Yeah, they call us conspiracy theories. Theorists, I should say, the ones that are coming down on Fauci. Conspiracy theorists. Wait a second, people died. Like a lot of people died. I don't know. Makes me a conspiracy theorist? I'm just going by the numbers. You're amazing, whether it's Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Anthony Fauci. If somebody out there is doing something wrong, I'm going to warn you right now. It's like Bibi. All right, if you're a terrorist, he's going to find you. He's going to kill you. If you're out there right now doing something wrong, Miranda Devine is going to find you. Then she's going to write about you. And it's always the truth. And then hopefully she'll ruin you. That's my hope. Miranda, you're great. I love you so much. I really do. Great job here. Thank you so much.
You too, Sid. So good to talk to you.
You too. God bless you. The best columnist anywhere in the world today. I mean that. New York Post, Miranda Devine. She's up on this. She's got it all. And this thing is still going on. But at this point, it's just like beating a dead body because he will not speak. He will not answer any questions. He keeps evoking the Fifth Amendment. So we got James Lankford. We got Peters. We got Ron Johnson. We've got Rand Paul. We've got Hassan. All these people that are asking questions of Fauci, and he says, yeah, I'm not going to answer. So how about those Mets? We'll take a short break. Back after this.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Everybody's hammering.
Yeah, well, if
not
this guy's
Rand
just
Paul,
going to
excuse
sit
me,
there
Anthony Fauci.
This guy's just going to sit there and play the fifth one.
That's all he's going to do.
Why you got to sit there then? If you're
I
Ron
don't know.
Johnson.
But that's all he's done is plead the fifth, plead the fifth, plead the fifth. He loves it. He loves every second of it. His attorney took his time putting his stuff back in his attaché case and exiting the room when Rand Paul had him thrown out. That was a good job by Rand Paul. Rand's been great. I don't like Rand. You guys know that. But I'm not above giving people credit that I don't even like. So Rand's been great. They've all been great. But I think the issue becomes, again, for the millionth time, anybody who's been paying attention knows that Anthony Fauci lied, and it led to the death of many, many people. Death. And also psychological issues. All of us that were stuck in our apartments and homes and couldn't leave because, God forbid, we walked outside, we were going to die. The psychological impacts of that were awful. And our kids, a whole generation of morons. Seriously, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious. And this guy was a part of all of it. All of it. And he's sitting there like he's a superstar. He looks stoic. He's drinking from his water. His expression doesn't change. But he's loving every second of it. He is legitimately a psycho. But the problem becomes, a lot of us believe, including Noam, that with all this evidence that proves that this guy lied and did things to hurt Americans and kill Americans, that the confidence that something is going to happen to this guy is somewhere between 0 and less than that. Is that fair to say, Noam?
Yeah, nothing's happening.
Nothing's going to happen? Rand said that what he's doing is illegal. That when you get pardoned, which he was by Joe Biden, that you cannot take the fifth. Did you know that?
That may be true. I don't know.
But yet you still feel like nothing's going to happen.
No. The guys, first of all, they're not jailing a guy who's 85 years old. And you have to remember, as much as you despise him, there's a whole half of the country that thinks he's the greatest thing ever.
I know. Well, that's the case with everything today. That's just the way it is. Half love, half hate, right? Starting with President Trump and just about everything else. Very hard to find something that almost everybody loves except for me. What?
But,
I'm sorry?
Come again?
No. Well, we know it's Jesus and you.
Right. Madonna, Cher.
Well, everybody doesn't agree on Madonna.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
You think everybody loves Madonna?
You know everybody loves Maureen Morgan, the beautiful wife of our dear friend Pete Morgan. And I mentioned Maureen, who's hilarious. She's great. Because today is Maureen Morgan's birthday.
Oh, that's nice.
Happy birthday, Maureen.
We should have known that before.
Yeah, I just saw it about 20 minutes ago, and I was talking to Miranda Devine. So happy birthday, Maureen. We all love you. We love Pete, too. Yeah. But happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Maureen.
You got
Morgan.
2 names. We still love you.
Yeah, well, that's right. She has 2 names. Unlike me, I got 1. And now she's celebrating her birthday with Geddy Lee and Martina McBride.
Big stuff.
And
Big day.
Gabe Layden's birthday is today.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Noam's son.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Gabriel?
Yeah. 23 today.
Oh, my God. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
What are you guys going to do?
Well, I threatened him last night because I was the guy that used to bring cupcakes into his class when he was a kid, that I was going to show up at his workplace. And actually, he sent me a text this morning saying, "You're really not going to do that because I really don't want you to show up at my
what's funny
workplace
about
with
that?
cupcakes."
I've got a son named Gabriel, too.
Right.
Okay. And I did show up at Gabriel's workplace
You
yesterday.
did.
And I made a speech in front of all of the interns, him and all his little friends. And he loved it. And maybe 2 minutes ago, they took a big picture at the end of this speech.
Right.
Like 100 kids with me in the middle. And like 2 minutes ago, Gabriel sent me the picture they took yesterday. And he said, "Dad, you look great. What a great picture." So your son, Gabriel, is like, "Dad, don't come anywhere near this place."
Well, I don't blame him.
And my son is like, "Come on. Come on."
No, it's a new job. The last thing is he wants me to show up with
Why?
cupcakes.
You'll know him late and you're famous.
Can you imagine if I did that? He would be so angry at me.
I know, but it would work for him.
You should send 3 or 4 separate deliveries of cupcakes.
I got to tell you, a bunch of these interns, my son is very popular. He is, okay? But there are a few interns, not a bunch, a few, that didn't really talk to Gabriel. Guess what? If the dad showed up, they all want to be his friend. All of them. That may be the case with Gabe Layden if Noam shows up.
You never know.
You're a famous guy. People love you.
Yeah, if you saw the text, you would not show up with cupcakes.
Did he thrive you? How bad
Basically,
did it get?
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, now we'll just...
Because he knows I'll do it, so he doesn't want me to do
We'll
it.
just use one name for both. Now, Gabe, that's it.
No, we can't do that because we got two
There's
of them.
two, yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like the Italian restaurant Rocco's by my house, your house, Lou. And there's two Vinnies. There's Vinny and there's Vinny.
Yeah, well, that's one little area. If you went 30 feet another direction, you'd find another Vinny.
Probably.
And then another
But
Vinny.
in that restaurant, you got two owners. They're both named Vinny. And I was there on Friday. And Vinny C., the guy you see at the front every time you walk in, his mom died on Friday. Yesterday was the funeral. He heard you and I talking about him and his late mom. And he sent me a text thanking me. And he made it very, very clear in the text that he is Vinny C. Because I think the other guy is Vinny P., although I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. Well, that's going to be easy enough.
It's very confusing,
Doesn't
bro.
sound like Goodfellas at the wedding when he had 17 Pauls and 30, Paulies and Petes.
Well, that was like when I was a kid growing up. Almost every Italian girl I knew was either Danielle or Maria. That's it.
That's right.
That's all I knew.
Yeah. There's Marie's all through Italian.
Oh, Maria everywhere.
I get confused myself. This is my nephew, Paulie. This is Petey. No, he's Paul. He's Mary. Marie. God bless.
That's a popular name, I guess. I don't know.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?